It's not what you said, it's how you said it. We've all heard those words, and we all know that sometimes people are hurt by the content of what we say, and sometimes they're hurt by the tone, the manner in which we conveyed the message. In this week's parsha, we might find an even deeper issue that affects Klal Yisrael. The Torah, in conveying the story of the Misonanim, conceals far more than it reveals. The whole episode is encapsulated by Hi ha'am ki misonanim ra be'oznei Hashem. HaKadosh Baruch Hu responds to the complaint of Klal Yisrael with a tragic and terrible fire. What did they do wrong? One hint, the Torah encapsulates the entire chait in one word, kim misonanim. What does that mean? We have a hint from the continuation of the pasuk that it says Ra be'oznei Hashem. Apparently, from the fact that it's described as kaviyachol, being evil in the ears of Kadosh Baruch Hu, apparently it was something that they said. And if we look in the Mefarshim, some Mefarshim indeed say it was what they said. What they said was evil words, something that was wrong, mistaken. Some Mefarshim focus on how they said it, the complaining, the tone, as we could imagine. However, if we look in the Ramban, we find a different and perhaps a deeper issue at play. The Ramban says, Kim misonanim. The term misonanim does not mean to complain, to voice the complaint. It means to suffer, to be afflicted. And the problem here was that Klal Yisrael, they were kim misonanim. They adopted the posture of one who suffers. They looked at themselves as suffering and therefore projected to HaKadosh Baruch Hu that they were suffering. They voiced the complaint, but the problem was not the words that they said or even how they said it, but where it came from. It came from a place of being kim misonain, as if they were suffering. What were they suffering from? They were in the Midbar, a place which is desolate. It's hot. It's dusty. They didn't know how long they were going to be there for. They didn't know when they were going to be able to leave this place. They didn't have, in their eyes, a guaranteed source of water. They didn't have a consistent source of food. They woke up every morning. The pantry was bare. The fridge was empty. How did they look at themselves in that situation? They looked at themselves, kim misonanim, as if they were suffering. They looked at themselves and said, where are we? When are we going to leave this terrible place? What could they have done alternatively? Of course, they could have looked at themselves, and they should have looked at themselves, and they were supposed to look at themselves as living a utopian existence. HaKadosh Baruch Hu took care of their every need. They had ananei kavod. They were living surrounding a mishkan. Each shevet had its spot. They had man every single day. They had a be'er funneled into the midbar, a miraculous existence. But instead they chose to be kim misonanim, to adopt the viewpoint of sufferers, to look at themselves and therefore to project outwards that they were in a terrible state. This unfortunately became a recurring issue in the Midbar, as we see the Klal Yisrael adopts postures and then projects issues of their own making. They are hisavut ha'ava. They create a taiva when it wasn't necessary. They were boche bechi shel chinam. They cry when it's not necessary. And at the root of it all is the issue of a person looking at his surroundings and the question of what does he perceive himself to be in? Is this a tragic situation? Is this a troubling situation? Is he suffering? Or is this a incredible situation? Does he see the chesed of the Kadosh Baruch Hu? Nowadays, as we know, in the wider society, victimhood has become a very popular posture for people to look at themselves and to project outwards that they're victims. And of course, it is unfortunately true that there are all too many tragic victims and people who suffer terribly. However, at the same time, we have to be careful when we look at ourselves and we project to other people. What do we focus on? Are we victims? Are we suffering? Do we only see the issues that we have? Or do we also, and hopefully primarily, look at all the tremendous good that we have, all the chesed that HaKadosh Baruch Hu showers upon us? Just like in the Midbar, when Klal Yisrael should have, instead of being kim misonanim, instead of adopting the posture of sufferers, they should have seen the tremendous chesed that HaKadosh Baruch Hu showered on them every single day.